Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to Season 2 of It Came From the Sump, our series dedicated to the Necromunda Community Event, co-hosted by Dr. Drybrush and myself. It Came From the Sump is a vehicle-based narrative Necromunda campaign set in the Sump Seas of Necromunda, and on today's video we are starting the very first battle report for week number 7 of our campaign. And as you can see in the image before you, this is our current layout right now and the current rankings for all of our gangs. So in first place we have the Deep Ones, followed by the second place the Sump Spiders, the Spider Hunters played by my sister Shade. In third place is Snow White and the Wild 7 of the Venators, played by my little sister the Kiddo. In fourth place are the Velvet Privateers of House Van Sar, played by my friend Warlord Ace. In fifth place is my gang, the Rusty Nails, which is my Slaver gang, Slaver Outcast gang. I'm at fifth place for that one. In sixth place is the Ever Damned of the Corpse Grinder Cult, played by my friend Dark Lord Mac. And finally, in seventh place is the Pale Horse Posse of House Orlok, played by Iron Major. And the way that we come up with our rankings is whoever's got the best win record, followed by in a tiebreaker, followed by highest gang rating. So far, here's our Week 7 campaign data to figure out who's winning triumphs. As you can see, the Velvet Privateers have been highlighted in cyan, and that's represent the fact that this gang is actually on its bye week, so it will not be participating in this week's campaign week's worth of battle reports. However, though, currently who is actually downing right now are the Deep Ones. As you can see, they've been highlighted in green. They control the most territory, so far have the most kills in terms of wrecks as well as taking people out of action. They have the highest gang rating. They control the most battles at this point, tied with only my gang, the Rusty Nails, both tied at 7, and they also have the highest reputation as well. So the Deep Ones are totally dominating in this campaign week as well. So we're now beginning campaign week number 7 for our campaign, so hopefully things will change up by the end of it, so we'll see exactly what ends up happening. So now that we've concluded with our campaign data, let's talk about the very first battle report taking place in week 7 of our campaign. This is battle report number 19. It's fought between Dark Lord Mac as well as myself. My friend Dark Lord Mac is bringing the Ever Damned of the Corpse Grinder Cult while I'm playing the Rusty Nails of the Slaver Guild Outcasts. We'll be throwing it down in a murder cyborg scenario, so it's really exciting to see exactly how this is going to work out. And because this video is a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that we can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. For now, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we'll show you rosters for both gangs, and we'll come back and talk about the scenario rules. We'll see you back real soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so let's talk about the scenario as well as the complications for this week. This week we have the phenomenon known as Beastquake, which is created by our good friend Dr. Drybrush. Basically, you get no boons or income can be generated from territories unless in the post game you decide to take a secure territory action, which means that any fighter can be chosen to perform the secure territory post-battle action sequence. When this happens, you roll a d6 for each fighter, and on a roll of 1 they suffer a lasting injury, and they don't retain any boons or income from the territory they try to secure. However, though, if they don't roll the 1, they can generate income and boons from that territory like always. The scenario that we'll be playing is the Murder Cyborg. It pretty much has a typical Sump Sea battle port with vehicles also being attached to the battlefield. Both gangs receive a custom selection of 8 fighters per gang, and of course standard deployment rules apply. And pretty much the battle either ends in one of 2 ways. Either 1, there are no fighters left on the tabletop, or the Murder Cyborg has been destroyed. The victory conditions for this battle report is that the player destroys the Murder Cyborg as the winner, otherwise it's considered a draw. Now, what ends up happening, of course, is that to reveal the Cyborg, what ends up happening is you guys fight one another until somebody wounds somebody on a 5 or higher on a wound roll. And when that case happens, the Murder Cyborg pops up. Now, when the Murder Cyborg reveals itself as one of 3 missions, you roll a d6 to determine which one. You have the Extermination Directives, which means it attacks the closest nearest fighter to it. The Decapitation Subroutines, which means it will take out both leaders of both gangs if they're available on the tabletop. And the third one, of course, is Preservation Protocol. We'll try to run to the opposite end of the tabletop and try to escape that way. Now, for the rewards on this one, the winning gang earns D6 times 10 credits to the gang that actually destroys the Murder Cyborg. You also earn 1 experience point for putting a wound on the Murder Cyborg as well. The winner earns D3 reputation points, and the gang who bottles out might lose his 1 point reputation as well. So now that we're done with the scenario rules, let's talk about deployment real quick. So let's go ahead and talk about deployment real quick. As you can see, we're playing on a 4x4 table in the Sump Sea. My gang, the Rusty Nails of the Slaver Outcasts, will be represented by the yellow symbols represented on the map, and you can see the key there on the left-hand side as well. And the Everdand, played by their friend good Dark Lord Mac with his Corpse Grinder cult, will be represented by the cyan symbols as well as the key there on the right-hand side as well. I am deployed on the far side of the table, while my buddy Dark Lord Mac is deployed on the near side of the table. Now, typically speaking, this is actually just a normal gang, like a normal gang fight scenario, until someone actually reveals the Murder Cyborg. So pretty much my plan is just kind of try to strike along the flanks, try to control the outside of the battlefield, to try to keep my friend Dark Lord Mac in the center, so that way hopefully I'm going to pop the trap and be able to kill the Cyborg. The Cyborg can then run around and kill a lot of members of Dark Lord Mac's gang. That's actually my entire plan. It's pretty much to kind of snipe him from a distance. As for Dark Lord Mac, he's a Corpse Grinder cult player, so his whole plan is just to run forward and try to kill as many people as possible. So starting off deploying, the bottom edge of the table is Dark Lord Mac's gang, the Everdamned. On board the Midnight Meat train is Kargon, his Butcher, really deadly close combat fighter with a rotary cleansing saw. Also on board that vehicle is T.E. the Executioner, which is one of his skinners. That character is armed with a flail as well as a butcher's chain cleaver. And lastly, we do have the Midnight Meat Train, which is a cargo, a ridge hauler. It's got a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades. It's also got a refrigerated container so people can recover flesh wounds. It also got grizzly trophies, so that way it's harder to strike against. Once you pass a willpower test, this thing is kitted out to kill. Moving on the center, very edge of the deployment zone for the Everdamned, we do have 4 members of the Narco Scum, the Kim Fiends. On the left-hand side is Spy and Jack Slim. That character's armed with a last pistol as well as a chainsword. To the right is Needle Vex, another Narco Scum who's armed with a last gun with a telescopic sight as well as a stun gun for a backup weapon. Third is Crankjaw, another Narco Hive Scum. This guy's armed with a last pistol as well as a fighting knife, also packing frag grenades. And the very last member of this delegation is Asher the Drip, which is another Narco Scum armed with a last gun as well as photo goggles. Meanwhile, the very center of the table where the MTA tower is located at, on the very left-hand side is the Fireworm, which is an initiate. That guy has Under Armour suit, hand flamer, as well as a boning sword. And the reason why these 4 initiates are able to deploy on the tabletop is because they do have their infiltrate special rule. Luckily for me, my Underhive Watcher really helped me out in this case, because my Hive Watcher kept these guys from actually deploying near my fighters, which is a really nice little benefit of having that hanger on in my gang. Right below the Fireworm is Choke, another initiate, once again armed with Flak Armor, Initiate's Mask, Armor Undersuit. They also have a Hand Flamer as well as the Butcher's Cleaver. Third is Garrote, another initiate who's got Armor Undersuit as well as Initiate's Mask and Flak Armor, Auto Pistol, Boning Sword as well as Incendiary Charges. And the very last initiate is Shade, another initiate who's got Flak Armor, Initiate's Mask, Armor Undersuit. They also are packing a Stub Gun as well as a Flensing Knife. And on the left-hand side, in the bottom left-hand corner of the battlefield on that bridge is Boulevard. This is one of the cutters from this gang. He's armed with an Armor Undersuit, Cutter's Mask, Plate Mail, as well as a Chain Glaive. He's got the Dervish as well as Killing Blow skills. And taking point is Vomitoris, the Warp Horror. That thing's got 2 horrific appendages, Warp Fire Breath, Undulating Skin. It's got the Terrifying special roll as well as the Warp Denizen special roll. It's also packing the Nerves of Steel as well as Berserker skills. And that's going to make up the deployment for the Everdamned on this battle report. So moving on to deployment for the Outcasts, on the top left-hand side of the battlefield, on top of Water Tower number 14 is Errol Devere, one of my Outcast Hive Scum. He's packing Mesh Armor, Gutter Forge Cloak. He's also got a last gun. It says Infrared Sight on the bottom of his equipment there. It's actually a telescopic sight. I do apologize for that mistake. He's also got a reclaimed auto pistol as well as photo goggles. And right next to him is Stuka Decane, another one of my Outcast Hive Scum, also equipped pretty much the same way with Last Gun Telescopic Sight. He's also packing Axe as well as photo goggles as well. At the base of Water Tower number 14 is Sundown, one of my Scum Racers. Just got a custom light vehicle with a long last, also got a nitro burner, all while steering in a transport bed. Unfortunately, it does have the unreliable lasting injury on the vehicle. I just put it there at the base of the water tower just in case I gotta have my 2 fighters, displaced from that tower and move somewhere else on the battlefield. To the right hand side of Sundown is Blacklight, my second Scum Racer, also piloting a custom light vehicle. It's got a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades, transport bed as well as nitro burner as well as all wheel steering. This one's actually a little bit more of an elite fighter just because it's got a 3+ on the ballista skill on that one, and +7 on the cool. On board Blacklight is Ursus the Boar, one of my Outcast champions. He's got a cost 225 credits. This guy's got Mesh Armor, Undersuit, as well as Gutter Forge Cloak. He's also got a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades, Stub Gun, as well as photo goggles. He's also got the Mastermind Archetype as well as the Overwatch skill. And lastly, on board of Blacklight is Nicodemus Kern, which is one of my Outcast Hive Scum. He's got Mesh Armor, a Gutter Forge Cloak. He's also packing a sawed-off shotgun and axe, and he's also packing choke gas grenades. Along the top edge, just right of the Crow's Nest, is Grievous 2.0, which is my last of my Scum Racers. He's also driving a custom light vehicle with a transport bed. It's got wheel skies as well as nitro burner and all-wheel steering. And on board that vehicle are my 2 pit fighters, by 2 pit fighter Hive Scum, that's Starbuck and Johnny the Boy. They're both cooked exactly the same way. They have stun guns and dum-dum rounds as well as fighting knives, and also packing blasting charges. And the reason why we're going to take these guys is because I do have that pit arena territory in my gang. Deployed in the middle of the walkway between the MTA terminal as well as the office building in the upper right corner of the battlefield is Corella Corsair. She's located there because I use her infiltrate skill. She's got mesh armor as well as armor undersuit and the Gutter Forge cloak. She also has a hand flamer as well as a chain sword. And looking back, probably putting her on that bridge right next to 4 initiates, probably not the best idea. In the upper right corner of the battlefield next to that office building is my 3-man team led by Gothmog, my Beastman Hunt leader. Just an absolute wrecking ball of a unit. Got light carapace armor, armored undersuit, Gutter Forge cloak. He's got a heavy rock cutter as well as an arc welder. These are unwieldy weapons, but because he's got the bulging bicep skill, you can wield them both. He's got a stem slug stash as well as a friends on collar, a brawler archetype. He's got the feral warrior special rule, friends on conditioning special rule, and he's also got the bulging biceps and headbutt skill. And because he's also got a friends on collar, he also comes with nerves of steel, berserker, unstoppable, as well as true grit. Just an absolute just wrecking ball of a guy who just blends things to dust whenever he goes up against them. And for the Gothmog is Reinhardt Rustlung, one of my Outcast Hive Scum. He's got mesh armor as well as a Gutter Forge cloak, carrying paired reclaimed auto pistols. He's also carrying smoke grenades as well as choke gas grenades. And lastly, we have Lasher Hicks, which is my last of my Outcast Hive Scum. He's got mesh armor, a Gutter Forge cloak, stub gun, as well as a shock whip, and he's also packing choke gas grenades. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Dark Lord Mac and I roll off for initiative to see which of us has priority. So that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and the Everdamned actually get to go first. Because of that, my friend Dark Lord Mac activates his very first fighter. So for Dark Lord Mac's very first activation, he activates his initiative, the Fire Worm. It does a simple action to move forward and do another basic action to open fire with his Hand Flamer directly at Corella Corsair. And as you can see from this photo, he barely makes a shot, but he makes a shot nonetheless, and just like that, a jet of warp fire goes directly towards Corella Corsair, and she's immediately engulfed in a giant gout of flame from the initiate. And as you can see on the little mini-map, player number 7 from the Everdam has been highlighted in magenta to represent the fact that this character has moved and also fired to represent the fact that they have been activated. So when it comes to the attack, actually attacking, the Fireworm is targeting Corella Corsair with a Hand Flamer, striking at strength 3 with 1 damage. Also has the Blaze as well as template weapon traits as well. So because he doesn't need to roll to hit because a template attack automatically hits. He is striking at strength 3 versus Corella Corsair's toughness of 3, which means he's a 4+ order wound. Now unfortunately for the Fireworm, he does fail to wound Corella Corsair, but does manage to put a Blaze directly onto her. So Corella Corsair is pinned, and she's also on fire as well, but because I'm within an inch of an edge like that, I do have to take an initiative test to see if she falls. Now, she does have a pretty good initiative score, but unfortunately, and I do have a railing as well, which will also give you a +1 bonus, but unfortunately, nothing helps you when you roll a 1, so because of that, she goes off the edge of the bridge and directly into the Sump Sea. With a massive splash, Corella Corsair lands directly into Sump Sea. I need to pass a strength test to see if she sinks, and unfortunately I failed that strength test just because that she immediately goes out of action. When I rolled up on the last thing I do table, I rolled an 11, which means it's lessons learned. So because of this fighter does go to recovery, she will not be able to participate in my next battle report, but as a kind of like a bonus, she did earn 3 experience points. Moral of the story, don't deploy forward when you have a 4-man gang of initiates waiting for you. So as you can see back on the mini-map, player number 2 from my gang, Corella Corsair, has been blackened out and her name highlighted in red, representing the fact that she will no longer be participating in this battle report. So for my next activation, I said activate Stu Duquesne, who does a basic action aim with his last gun, another basic action open fire with his last gun directly at the Fireworm. Unfortunately though, I missed my shot because I rolled a 1 to hit, so nothing much really happens there. So as you can see on the little mini-map, my fighter has been highlighted green Stuka, player number 8, because he's been activated. Unfortunately, nothing really helps you out when you roll a 1, so because of the Fireworm is perfectly fine. Dark Lord Mac then activates Garot, who does a double move back towards the left-hand side of the MTA tower, so that way we can get within closer range so that we can engage my Slaver Outcast on the top of Water Tower number 14. So he does a simple movement to go directly to the edge, another simple movement to drop down directly onto the bridge, and he's well within range to open fire with a long distance shot of his auto pistol, so he'll be trying to engage my slavers on Water Tower number 14 in the next turn. And here's another shot of the tabletop. As you can see, player number 6, which is Garot, has been highlighted in magenta, and also their character has also been highlighted in magenta to show the fact that they've been activated and also have done their actions already. So, due to target priority, Errol DeVere has to open fire with his last gun directly at Garot as well, but unfortunately for me though, when I take a basic action to aim, and even with the addition to hit, I roll a 1 again. The second one I rolled this battle report, absolutely brutal, so because I missed my shot. The dice gods are just against me, I guess. So here's a look at the mini-map. As you can see, player number 5, Errol DeVere from the Rusty Nails, has been highlighted in green to represent the fact he's been activated, and my shot against fighter number 6, Garot from the Everdam, was just a complete loss. So, Dark Lord Rack, realizing that keeping his fighters on top of the MTA tower is not a good idea, decides to activate Choke, who does a double move forward towards the slavers. He takes a first simple action move directly to the edge of the MTA tower, and another simple action to drop down below to the bridgeway that used to be occupied by Corella Corsair, so that we can engage the slaves coming across that bridge there. And once again, here's another close-up of that mini-map, once again showing that fighter moving up directly towards the bridge and get basically kind of occupied to stop my little fire team from attacking from the office building in the Brand corner. So wanting a little bit of payback and hoping that my champion can actually perform better, I decided to do a group activation with Ursus the Boar as well as Blacklight. And Blacklight's going to activate first in the action phase. The first thing that Blacklight's going to do is do a simple movement action to move forward 8 inches with maximum allowance, and then followed up by a move and shoot basic action, so that moves up another 4 inches, then it can open fire with its grenade launcher. So as you can see in this photo, Blacklight kind of chugs along directly forward 12 inches to get ready to open fire with the grenade launcher. Now originally I was going to have him open fire with my grenade launcher directly at the Midnight Meat Train, Hopefully I could take out that vehicle or do some damage to it with that crack grenade. Unfortunately though, because of target priority, I have to hit the first target that's closest towards me, which in this case is Choke, was the initiative that's on top of the bridge already. So that part was kind of rough. And I thought it was kind of weird that Dark Lord Max set his fighter up forward like that. You know, that one lone fighter versus 3 slavers coming across the bridge here pretty soon. But he did that in order to sacrifice his initiate in order to protect his ship. So as you can see on the little mini map, it kind of shows it better so that way you can see what I was talking about. So box number A, which is Blacklight, he was originally going to shoot directly at box number 9, which is the Midnight Meat Train, shooting right between the 2 bridges and the space between the supports to hit that vehicle. But unfortunately though, I have to engage Choke first because of target prioritization. So because that Blacklight does have to open fire with a crack grenade, with striking at strength 6 minus 2 AP and 2 damage. Luckily, I'm not within the long distance range of actually firing on that one. So because I do have a blitz skill of 3 up on Blacklight. Now I did make a mistake on this little part here. What I should have rolled was actually a minus 2 to hit because of the fact that there was partial cover there. I really couldn't see him all the way through, which made it roll a 5 or higher. It should say 5 or higher. Perfect. Luckily for me though, I rolled a 6, so it didn't really matter all that much. So because I do strike at strength 6 with that crack grenade versus a toughness of 3, so I do have to roll a 2 or higher in order to wound. And unfortunately for me though, I rolled a 1 to wound. So I've just been rolling all kinds of 1s in this battle report, so Garota is perfectly fine. However though, he does have to take initiative test to see if he actually falls off the bridge. He needs a roll of 4+ in order to stay. Unfortunately though, he rolls a 2, so because of that, Garota does fall off the bridge and lands directly to the Sump Sea right beneath him. He does need to take a strength test in order to stay afloat, but unfortunately he fails and he sinks directly to the bottom of the Sump Sea, going immediately out of action, rolling a 33, which he goes into convalescence, so he'll miss out on his next battle report for the next week. So it ended up being good for Commander Cheapskate in the end after all, because I did manage to take Choke out of action. I didn't mean to do it by singing him directly to the sump. I was hoping a crack grenade could do it, but, you know, c'est la vie, I guess. So as you can see, Choke has been blackened out. His little icon number 4 has been blackened out to represent the fact that he's been taken out of action, and his red is highlighted. His name is highlighted in red, to represent the fact that he will not be participating in this battle report any further. As an added bonus, that this caused a nerve test for the fireworm, who must roll a 9 or higher in order, a 6 or higher in order to maintain his cool after watching his friend drown in the Sump Sea. Unfortunately for the fireworm, he does fail his nerve test, so because he does fly back 6 inches directly away from the edge, going to the other side of the MTA chemical metro tower. Unfortunately, it didn't actually cause a fall for bridge or for him to lose his activation later on, but if you are going to fail a nerve test, it might as well happen once you've been activated. So here's an overhead shot of the battlefield. As you can see, player number 7, the fireworm, his name has been highlighted in white towards the fact that his nerve is broken and he won't be able to activate again until he regains his nerve in the end phase. And as crazy as it might sound, that was only the first half of my group activation, because Ursus the Boar, my Outcast champion, gets to go next. He takes a basic action aim his grenade launcher to get a +1 to hit modifier, and another basic action open fire with his crack grenade directly at the Midnight Meat Train. So as you can see from this overhead shot, the Midnight Meat Train is on the other side of the tabletop. You can see where my original scheme was going for. It's going to fire the grenade between the supports of both bridges and go directly to the Midnight Meat Train. So I had to do that because I had to take out that initiative before I could do so. Unfortunately for me though, even though I did manage to hit the Midnight Meat Train, I failed to wound it. I rolled another 1 because it just kind of plinks right off the hull of the ship and goes directly into the sump. I've been rolling 1s like non-stop this battle report, and it's starting to get kind of frustrating, but that's the way it goes. When you play a game of dice, you can't get really upset how the dice operate. It's not like they're sentient things, right? So with that, we go directly to the other side of the tabletop to Dark Lord Mac. He decides to do a group activation with Boulevard, as well as Vomitoris, his Warpor. And both those characters, of course, do double movements forward directly towards the MTA tower in the middle of the battlefield. And here's a close-up of Boulevard kind of going directly to the MTA tower, and right in the middle of the MTA tower is Vomitoris. Now, you really don't see him in this photo, and the reason why is because the miniature actually doesn't fit through that little hole there. I don't really feel like damaging Iron Major's beautiful terrain masterpieces they make on our channel, so we'll just pretend he's inside of there and just know that he's actually right in the middle of the building. So as you can see from the overhead map, player number 2, which is Boulevard, as well as player number 8, which is Vomitoris from the Everdant, have been highlighted in magenta, represents the fact that they've been activated and they move directly into the center of the tower. So, sensing the danger of the Midnight Meat Train, I decided to activate Grievous 2.0, which is my Scum Racer, and I decided to do two simple actions of a move up forward, full 16 inches forward. So as you can see in this little mini-map, I did move him forward directly to the base at the office building of the upper right-hand corner. Now, the reason why I have to show you the mini-map and not the actual photo, I forgot to take a photo of showing Grievous moving across the battlefield. I do apologize, but I am not a professional YouTuber, so I'm going to be making mistakes. And unfortunately for me, spoiler alert, this is where disaster strikes. Dark Lord Max sees a golden opportunity in order to strike some fear directly into my gang, so he decided to do a group activation with Kargon, his butcher, who also does a group activation with TE the Executioner, which is one of his skinners, as well as the Midnight Meat Train. He decides to actually have the Midnight Meat Train go first, and what it does double movements forward, moving its maximum allowance of 14 inches directly towards Grievous 2.0. And as you can see, the Midnight Meat Train has no problem navigating its way through the waters of the Sump Sea directly towards Grievous 2.0 and collides directly into him. And this is when I realized, I was like, what are you doing, man? You really can't ram me in order to cause damage. That's a double action. And then Dark Lord Brack reminded me, he doesn't necessarily need to ram me in order to cause damage. He just has to move at me is all he has to do. And since he's driving a massive cargo 8 Rich Hauler versus my little custom light vehicle, no matter what distance he moves, he's going to cause some damage. So as you can see the little mini map here, box number 9, which is of course the Midnight Meat Train, moves directly through its way through those little spirit supports, smashes directly into the side of Grievous 2.0, and automatically hits my vehicle and causes some damage. So with a 16-inch movement allowance, he actually strikes at strength 9 with minus 3 AP and 3 damage. Now he does have a front haul strength of 9, hitting the side toughness of my light vehicle with a 3, which means he needs to roll a 2 up in order to wound against Grievous. Needless to say, he has no problem doing that. I get no armor save whatsoever, and we roll a penetrating hit to the drive, which makes me lose 1 hull point. And for those of you guys who are paying attention, light vehicles only have 1 hull point, so kaboom, the vehicle gets wrecked. Oh my god, it was bad. So because of that, the vehicle does get wrecked. All kinds of bad things end up happening with this. The vehicle itself actually ends up getting a persistent rattle, so because of that now, if I get another lasting damage on my vehicle, it could, of course, heck, my vehicle would be a write-off and I lose it entirely. The crew member lucky for me though got an out cold result, so he's perfectly fine as well. Johnny the Boy as well as Starbucks, they both get out of action as well, but they'll make full recovery because, you know, they're just hired scum, so no harm, no foul. Finishing up the rest of the activation, both Kargon the Butcher as well as TE the Executioner, who is a Skinner, they both take double movements to climb directly up to the second floor of this little bridge. It looks like what he's trying to do is kind of move his way directly to the upper right corner to assault my little assault squad there on the upper right side of the tabletop. So here's a close-up of the mini-map. As you can see, unfortunately my vehicle, Grievous 2.0, has been blackened out. Same thing with Johnny the Boy as well as Starbuck. The two triangles, Charlie and Delta, they've also been blackened out too. Their names, left-hand side, have also been highlighted in red in terms of the fact that they're no longer participating in this battle report. As you can see, I got 4 people taken out of action so far. This is not looking good for Commander Cheapskate. So wanting a little bit of payback, I decided to do a group activation. I activate Gothmog, who also activates Reinhardt Rustlung, as well as Lasher Hicks. And Lasher Hicks is going to be the very first person to actually move out. So I have Lasher Hicks take a simple movement to drop directly to the next floor of the office building, so he has a good line of sight directly towards TE the Executioner. And I'll take a basic action, open fire with this choke gas grenade towards the Skinner. And this is where I actually make a huge mistake. And, you know, sometimes I make them, but, you know, you can't do everything right all the time. And here's the mistake that I made. I decided to target T the Executioner with my choke gas grenade. The idea was that if I was able to get land that blow, not only could I get T the Executioner, but I could also get Kargon with the choke gas grenade as well. But here's the problem that I made. The problem I ran into though is I forgot that you have to have the Terrify special rule if you decide to shoot at a Skinner or at a Butcher. And of course, Outcasts, Hive Scum have a horrible willpower characters like A+, so because I fail that willpower test and I don't actually do it. Here's a pro tip for you guys. If you're ever shooting at members of the Corpse Grinder Guild, you should always use a blast or a template type weapon to do a blast weapon in order to do it. The reason why is because while you don't necessarily need to throw it directly at the target, You can actually throw it just a little bit before the target instead. Still catch the guy in the blast radius of that weapon, because if you do that, you don't have to take a willpower test to throw it at the ground before the fighter, only if you're going to fire it at the fighter. And that's where I made my mistake. I should actually throw it right before him, so that way it would still got TE, as well as potentially could have gotten Kargon in the blast radius of that choke gas grenade. But I failed to do that, and that's the reason why I failed that shot. So as you can see, player number 3, which is player number 7, which is Lasher Hicks, has been highlighted green. It tries to throw his choke gas grenade, actually fails in order to do so. But that's okay though, because Reinhardt Rustling then follows it below. He does another simple action drop below the next level, and another basic action open fire with the choke gas grenade, lobbing it directly towards TE the Executioner. And once again, I make a huge critical mistake again by throwing it directly at TE. Luckily for me though, I did pass my Terrify special rule by passing of the 9 on my willpower test, so I got extremely lucky on that one. But I gotta remember that in the future, and this should go for anybody who fights against Corpse Grinder cults, especially using blast weapons. Always, always, always aim for the point right before the fighter, next to the fighter, behind the fighter if you can, so that way you don't have to worry about taking those willpower tests. Now the choke gas grenade of course has a 3-inch blast radius. It does have the gas as well as the grenade key traits, but I gotta land that blow first, and with a Blitz skill 3+, I need a 3 or higher in order to make that blow. And that's exactly what happens. As you can see, that 3-inch blast template goes directly above TE's head, explodes. Not only does it catch the Executioner, but also it catches Kargon as well. Now when it comes to choke gas grenades, you don't necessarily need to actually roll for injury. All you gotta do is roll higher for the toughness of the fighters you're targeting, so that way they automatically make an injury roll. For Kargon with a toughness of 4, I need to roll a 4 up in order to injure that character, and for TE the Executioner with a toughness of 3, I need to roll a 3 or higher in order to land an injury roll against that fighter. Luckily for me, I do injure both fighters. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get any out-of-action results, but I got the next best thing, which is a serious injury. So both of them go crashing down to the cold hard decking. They're coughing on the poisonous fumes from the choke gas grenade. They're currently in a very precarious spot, because if I can charge against them, I could take them out in close combat. So, and finish those guys in coup de grace style. So going back to the mini-map, as you see, Kargon, player number 1, as well as TE, player number 3, their icons have been highlighted in red, represent the fact that they are seriously injured, as well as their names on the rosters also being highlighted in red, represent the fact that they are seriously injured. So the very last activation, of course, is for Gothmog, my Beastman Hunt leader. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the movement allowance in order to make a charge directly against those guys. There's no way I'm going to be able to make that distance. So instead I do dome movements, dropping down to the next level, and then another 5-inch distance to go directly towards TE the Executioner, so that way I can strike against them. Hopefully they don't make any recovery rolls and they can still be seriously injured. That way I can just take them out of the coup de grace. That would be the most ideal situation. So with that, we'll go back to the mini-map. As you can see, my last of my fighters, which is Gothmog, which is player number 1, has been highlighted in green, representing the fact that he's moved, and that pretty much makes up my activation for that character. So I have no more fighters that I want to activate for the rest of this turn, so the rest of the turn is dedicated to Dark Lord Mac. The very first person he activates is Shade, one of his last of his initiates. And Shade also does a double movement forward, going directly off the edge of the MTA terminal, landing directly on top of that bridge as well. I think he's doing that sort of that way. He's kind of like a bullet magnet in case if Blacklight as well as the board want to open fire with grenade launchers again, another strike against that character first, which is not a bad way to do things. And the last bit, of course, are the members of the Narco Scum, the Kim Fiends. What ends up happening is that Dark Lord Matt activates Crankjaw first. I don't have a photo of it, I do apologize for this. But he actually moves across the bridge and then opens the gate that's at the end of the bridge. That way it opens up that level for the rest of the Narco Scum to move through. And for the rest of the turn, the Narco Scum just kind of do a double movement forward. First of all, Needle Vex as well as Asher the Drip, they both do double movements forward directly on that little gateway there, so that way they can go directly to the bridge right below the level where Kargon as well as TE have been located at. And following right behind is Spinejack Slim, which of course is the other member of the Kim Fiends. So with the action phase over with, we go directly to the end phase. The first thing we both do, of course, is take bottle checks to see any of our gangs bottle out. Luckily for us, no one failed our bottle test, so because we go directly to the recovery rolls. Unfortunately for my buddy Dark Lord Mac, though, Kargon, his butcher, with the leader of his gang, does get an out-of-act result, rolling a 21, so because he does get an out-cold result, so he'll no longer be participating in the battle report, but he'll make a full recovery, so no harm, no foul there. Meanwhile, the Executioner, of course, is still seriously injured, which puts him in a really precarious spot, so he's currently on the ground, just continue choking on poison gas. And lastly, the fireworm does manage to recover his nerve, passing a cool test, and he also gets a bonus experience point, which is also quite nice for Dark Lord Mac. So here's the end of the table at the end of turn number 1. As you can see, pretty much the Corpse Grinder cult is pretty much located along the central terminal tower that's located in the center of the table. I'm still trying to come in from the left-hand flank as well as the right-hand flank, doing some overwatching shooting with my snipers located on water tower 14. The rest of my fighters trying to assault across that bridge on the right-hand side. Luckily for us, or unfortunately for us, depending on your viewpoint, none of us have even rolled a 5 or higher for a wound roll on this battle board, so because of the Murder Cyborg is still elusive and kind of sneaking amongst one of us. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, we roll for initiative to see which of us has priority. So we go right to the top of turn number 2, and the Slavery Guild Outcasts, the Rusty Nails, will get the initiative on this one, so I will be going first. And as you can see, the fighters on both sides have been highlighted back to their original colors because no one has been activated yet. So for my very first activation, I decided to do a group activation with both Gothmog as well as Reinhardt Rustlong as well as Lasher Hicks, which are the 2 Outcast hives come behind me. And instead of actually finishing off TE the execution with Gothmog, I decided to do something else, and probably something much more reckless. I decided to declare a charge against the Midnight Meat Train itself, and the reason why is because right below Gothmog where he's standing is of course the ruins of Grievous 2.0 that got wrecked earlier, so I decided to go directly off the bridge, directly onto the wreckage of what was once Grievous 2.0 and engage the Midnight Meat Train in close combat, because if anybody's going to be able to wound this Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler, it's going to be my gang leader. So here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield again. Once again, a little mini-map. Players number 1 as well as 6 and 7, which is Gothmog, Reinhardt Rustlong, as well as Lasher Hicks, have all been highlighted in green, representing the fact that they have been activated. Now the first thing I have to do, of course, is when I'm targeting the Midnight Meat Train, I do have to pass a willpower test. And the reason why is because the Midnight Meat Train does have the Grizzly Trophies upgrade on the vehicle, which means that if you want to strike against this vehicle in close combat, you have to pass a willpower test first, just like kind of like the mass that the members of the cult also willed. Now looking for me, Gothmog does have a willpower of 7+, so it's kind of like a 50-50 pass on that test. Luckily I do pass with it, and I also get 6 attacks in total. I decided to strike 3 times with a Heavy Rock Cutter, which gives me strength 8 minus 4 AP and 3 damage, as well as 3 attacks with Arc Welder, which gives me strength 6 minus 3 AP, as well as 3 damage as well. I do have a weapon skill of 3+, so I need a 3 roll of 3 or higher in order to land blows against the Midnight Meat Train. So in the end, I was able to land 2 strikes with the Heavy Rock Cutter against the Midnight Meat Train, as well as 1 hit with the Arc Welder as well. So I am striking a strength 8 with the Heavy Rock Cutter against its rear toughness of 8. I need to roll 4 or higher in order to wound the Midnight Meat Train. And with a strength of 6 versus the rear toughness of 8 for the Midnight Meat Train, I roll a 5 or higher. Looking back, what I probably should have done is take my Stim Slug stash on this case, because that way I could have gotten +2 on my strength. But, you know, hindsight is 20/20, so Sylvie. So in the end, I was able to put 2 wounds directly with the Heavy Rock Cutter as well, and because of that, the Midnight Meat Train does not get an armor save because of that -4 AP, so I managed to put 6 damage directly onto the Cargo 8 Ridge Hauler. And luckily for me, I rolled a catastrophic damage to the drive of the vehicle as well. So this vehicle does not have an engine shell, so magic goes right through to the engine. I take 2 hull points directly off the vehicle, as well as make it have a handling test with a -2 handling test to see if it actually fails it or not. And unfortunately for Dark Lord Mac, he does fail his handling test, so when we roll the dice to see exactly what happens, whether he turns or gets jackknife or rolls over. Unfortunately for Dark Lord Mac, he rolled a rollover result, so it flips over 1 inch over to the bottom. And just like that, I managed to wreck the Midnight Meat Train, putting that thing to a giant pillar of smoke. Unfortunately for Dark Lord Mac, he did roll unreliable on his lasting damage to his vehicle, so because of that, he does have a 1 in 6 chance in case the vehicle doesn't end up going in his next battle report. So that part was kind of rough. At the same time, though, net some juicy experience points for Gothmog, so that part was quite cool. So as you can see on the mini-map, the box number 9, which of course is the Midnight Meat Train, has been blackened out to represent the fact that it has been wrecked. At the same time, the Midnight Meat Train's name has been turned to red to represent the fact that it will not longer be participating in the battle report. So for starters, I do apologize for the blurriness of this photo. I did not realize it was so blurry until I actually did this battle report. But the next activation, my group activation, falls to Lasher Hicks, which is one of my Outcast Hive Scum, and he declares a charge directly against TE the Executioner. Lasher Hicks has no problem charging directly into TE the Executioner and puts him out of action with a coup de grace. We rolled up for the last injury on this one, rolled a 55, and he gets captured. So because of that, now TE the Executioner now belongs to me. And if my buddy Dark Lord Mac wants to get him back, he's going to have to fight for him. And we'll talk about that later on when we get directly to the end of the battle report. So going back to the mini-map, as you can see, fighter number 3 from the Everdamned, TE the Executioner, he has been blackened out to represent the fact he's been taken out of action. At the same time, his name is also highlighted in red because he will no longer be participating in this battle report. And for my very last activation, I said to activate Reinhardt Rustlung, which is one of my Outcasts Hive Scum, who's also packing smoke grenades as well as choke gas grenades. He does a simple movement to go up forward 5 inches directly towards the little opening where both Needle Vex as well as, I believe the other character's name is Toxville. Oh, sorry, is Asher the Drip. That's right. Asher the Drip as well as Needle Vex located at, and I plan on lobbing one of my choke gas grenades directly at those two Hive Scum. So you can see for the little mini-map, player number 6, which is Reinhardt Rustlung, has been highlighted in green as the fact he's been activated. He moves up along the bridge, and that red arrow illustrates the fact that he's lobbing his choke gas grenade directly towards Needle Vex as well as Asher the Drip. So the choke gas grenade, of course, has a 3-inch blast radius with gas as well as grenade weapon traits attached to it. I do have ballistic skill 3+. I didn't get a chance to actually aim just because I'm firing at the maximum distance of my my strength characteristic with 9 inches, and I need to roll 3 or higher in order to land that shot. And luckily for me, I managed to land that shot perfectly directly against both of them as well, as it goes up by that 3-inch blast template. Now the reason why it's like located right there between the tower as well as the bridge is because we can't actually fit the blast template in that doorway, and I don't really want to damage up Iron Major's beautiful terrain work. So just imagine went directly into the doorway and exploded, catching both those guys in those noxious clouds. So because I do need to wound both of these guys with the gas trait, for Needle Vex he's got a toughness of 3, and so does Asher the Drip, so I need to roll a 3 or higher in order to injure both those fighters. So I do manage to put serious injuries on both Needle Vex as well as Asher the Drip. That's why their names are highlighted in red. Unfortunately, I didn't, for whatever reason, I forgot to change their colors for Delta and Bravo, those two gray triangles in the middle of the tabletop. Those should be red. I forgot to do that. I don't know why I left gray on there, so I do apologize for that. Now they both get seriously injured, however though they got to test to see if they fall directly in the drink because they're so close to the edge. And unfortunately for both those guys, they both failed the initiative test, so they both go land directly into the Sump Sea. They also failed their strength test as well, so both those characters do go out of action as well. So because of that, they will no longer be participating in this battle report. And as an added bonus, Crankjaw, which is one of the Hive Scum, actually fails his nerve test, actually flees back a good amount. I believe it goes back 8 or 9 inches. So he runs away as his friends are drowning directly in the Sump Sea just because he doesn't want to catch any of that business that's coming his way. And as you can see over here, the overhead on the map, both Delta and Bravo, which are the Needle Vex as well as Asher the Drip, their triangles have been blackened out. Was the fact they're no longer participating. At the same time, player number Alpha, which is Spine Jack Slim, is also flailing because he failed his nerf test. So going back to Dark Lord Mac, he decides to activate Shade when his initiates, who does a basic action move forward and another basic action open fire directly at Gothmog. As you can see, that short little movement allowance actually allows him to shoot in that gap between the railing directly towards Gothmog down below. He is firing at the maximum range of his auto pistol, subgun, I'm sorry. But unfortunately for Shade, though, he does miss his shots because that nothing much really happens. I doubt that stub gun would have actually done any damage against Gothmog, but I think what my buddy Dark Lord Mac was trying to do was land a hit against Gothmog so that he had to roll on his initiative. His initiative score is kind of basic, but if he would have failed that, he would have fallen directly into the Sump Sea, so I think that's what he was trying to do. But luckily for me, though, he missed his shot. And here's a close-up of the central part of the battlefield. As you can see, fighter number 5, which is Shade, has been activated. His name's highlighted in magenta. There was the fact they tried to open fire directly at Gothmog. So for my next activation, I decided to activate Errol DeVere, which is one of my Outcast Hive Scums armed with a last gun with a telescopic sight. He does a basic action aim once again with his last gun, and another basic action to open fire at Garrote, so that way I get a 2+ hit modifier when I open fire my last gun. And as you can see, I'm firing across the battlefield from Water Tower number 14 directly to Garrote, who's on that bridge right across from him. And here's a close-up of the little mini-map. As you can see, fighter number 5, which is Errol DeVere, has been highlighted in green with that red line going directly towards Garrote, which is represented by player number 6 from the Everdamned. So Errol Devere is firing with a lasting with a telescopic sight. Because I take a base action to aim, I also get +1 to hit, plus another +1 hit bonus because I take the short range modifier from the Alaska and apply it to my long range shots because of that telescopic sight. I am striking at strength 3 with 1 damage, and with the ballistic skill of 4+, I do have to roll a 3 or higher to hit, and the reason why is because that barrier that's in the way does provide partial cover for choke, so because I need to roll a 3 or higher in order to hit him. Luckily for me this time around, though, I do manage to land that hit directly against choke. I am striking at a strength of 3 versus a toughness of 3, so I need a 4+ order wound, and I do manage to get the wound, but this time, though, I wound on a 5+, which means that the murder cyborg reveals itself. So, living up to his name, Choke grasps his throat from the last gun shot that went directly into it. He starts choking his own blood, falling to the ground when suddenly he explodes in a shower of blood and gore. And emerging from the corpse of what once was the Initiate is the Murder Cyborg, represented by the Zote character from the Blackstone Fortress miniature game. So you can see this is going to represent the Murder Cyborg for our game. As you can see, he's got a really great characteristic with 4 wound allowance, 3+ weapon skill, 2+ skill. It's got 4 strength, 5 toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 3 attacks, 8+ leadership, 3 cool, 5 willpower, 8 intelligence. It's got light carapace armor, giving a 4-up armor save, as well as a displacer field, giving a 4-up field armor save. It's packing twin bolt pistols with blast projectors, a shotgun with solid scatter, as well as execution rounds. It's also packing frag and crack grenades. It's also got the fast shot, gunfighter, as well as iron jaw skills. And when we rolled up to see exactly what his program would be, it's extermination protocols, which means this thing to be killing everything that's near and around it. So this thing is out to just murder everybody. I guess that's why they call it a murder cyborg. So as you can see on the little mini-map, player number 6 from the Everdamned, which used to be Choke, has now been replaced. The icon is now a dark blue color. As you can see, the name has been replaced with the Murder Cyborg because that's the one target now that we have to go against. So now instead of fighting each other, we both got to try to scramble and kill the Murder Cyborg because whoever kills the Murder Cyborg ends up winning the scenario. And lucky for Dark Lord Mac, he's the next guy to activate, so he does a group activation with both Bolivar as well as Vomitoris, which is the warp core that's located in the center of the tower on that floor that he's on. So because of that, Vomitoris actually declares a charge directly against the Murder Cyborg. As you can see, Vomitoris has no problem whatsoever closing the gap between him as well as the Murder Cyborg, and these two creatures throwing it down like kaiju warriors are going to fight out in close combat. So as you can see on the little mini-map here, Vomitoris, player number 8, as well as Boulevard, player number 2 from the Everdamned, have been highlighted magenta, represents the fact they've been activated. And the first thing that happens is that Vomitoris charges directly into the Murder Cyborg, engaging in close combat. So Vomitoris, the Warp Horror, is engaging the Murder Cyborg with 2 horrific appendages, giving Strength 5 with -1 AP, 2 damage, as well as the Pulverize and Rending weapons traits attached to it. Combined with his 2 weapons as well as his charge, Vomitoris does get 6 attacks in total, and with a weapon skill of 3+, he's a 3+ in order to land blows directly against the Murder Cyborg. And Vomitoris has just been waiting for this entire day to show off because he lands 5 hits with those 2 horrific appendages directly against the Murder Cyborg. Now he's striking at strength 5 versus the Murder Cyborg's toughness of 5, which means he needs a 4+ order wound. Of those 5 hits, 4 of those actually wound, and the 5th one actually wounds with Rending on top of that, which adds additional damage to that attack as well. Now because of that, the Murder Cyborg has to make an armor save with light carapace armor, usually at a 4+, but because of that -1 AP from those 2 horrific appendages, modifies it to a 5+ order save. Now the Murder Cyborg does manage to save 1 wound with the armor and manages to save 1 wound with a displacer field, but it takes 6 damage in total. Now here's the thing with the Murder Cyborg, when it actually gets damaged, it can't be taken out with a coup de grace, it can only be taken out of action with a direct attack against it. So it does go crashing face first directly to the ground, or is it the fact that it had serious damage, but that's okay though because it could regenerate and still be a problem. However, that's not the thing about it though. The thing about it is that the Murder Cyborg actually saved one of its wounds with a displacer field, which means it has a 4-up armor save. Now when that happens, of course, when you get hit with that with the displacer field, you actually move in a random direction at the same amount of inches as the strength of the attack was made against you, which was a strength 5 in this situation. So because of that, he does move over to the right hand side 5 inches. It should be a 5 there. I'm not sure why we put a 4 there. I do apologize for that. But he actually gets 5 inches directly to the bottom of the where he's located at, which means he's right in the middle of the air, which means he drops directly down into the sump. So falling out of the sky like a spectral meteor with the same kind of scream that the T-1000 makes in Terminator 2, it goes crashing directly into the sump. It does need to take a strength test in order to survive, which unfortunately it fails. So because of that, it sinks directly to the bottom of the Sump Sea, forever entombed within the toxin wastes of the very bottom of Necromunda. And as you can see on the little mini-map, player number 6, which is the Murder Cyborg, has been blackened out. His name is highlighted in red as well, proves the fact that the Murder Cyborg has been killed. That immediately ends the battle report. And with that, the Corpse Grinder Cult of the Everdamned managed to survive this one with a victory on this one as well. Not only managing to put out the Murder Cyborg, but also, winning the scenario as well. Now, normally we would go to the post game because that would be the end of this battle report. However, though, we do have a little bit of a bonus battle report for you, which is battle report 19.5. And the reason why is because if you guys remember, TE the Executioner has been captured, and whenever the the Slaver Guild Outcasts of the Rusty Nails, whenever they capture someone, the first thing they do is they put them in a pit fight to see if they can earn their freedom back. And with that, that takes us directly to battle report number 19.5. So kind of think of a little mini bonus battle report that's here. Once again, fought between Dark Lord Mac as well as myself. Dark Lord Mac, of course, is playing TE the Executioner from his Everdamned, and he is fighting against our champion for the Rusty Nails to see if he can actually survive. If you guys remember, we did something very, very similar at the very beginning of the campaign when Drella the Restival DeVille got captured by the Rusty Nails, and she fought her way by fighting the entire Slave Guild delegation and putting 4 fighters out of action. It was a really impressive thing. So we're going to do exactly the same thing for T the Executioner for him to actually earn his freedom. So this scenario, of course, is pit fight. The condition is the last fighter standing is the end overall winner. For the rewards on this one, the winning gang earns D6 times 5 credits to their stash. Also, the fighter who manages to take enemies out of action earns another point of experience. The champion who also wins also earns D3 experience points for winning. Both gangs get +1 reputation for showing up, and the champion who survives all the way to the end earns 2 points reputation as well as 4 points reputation for the winner. So this fight will be between T the Executioner as well as my champion, Verdict Kendron. So for those of you guys who've been paying attention to our Necromunda Community Event, Verdict Kendron is the Personae Dramatis Personae Bounty Hunter that Dr. Drybrush created. He costs 220 credits. As you can see, he's got wonderful characteristics. He's also weapons, cracking, mesh armor, a shotgun with solid scatter ammo, fighting knife, a slim stag slash. He's also got counterattack, headbutt, hurl, as well as the parry skills. Meanwhile, Dark Lord's max champion is the Executioner, also known as TE, the Skinner. He's got plate mail, Skinner's mask, armor undersuit, flail, as well as Butcher's chain cleaver. He's got the Berserker as well as specialist special rules. He's also got impressive scars as well. So the rest of the Rusty Nails are cheering on their champion, and for turn number 1, I actually get to go first on this one, so I want priority on this one. And the first thing I decided to do with Verdict Kendron is to take his Stim Slug stash. That way he gets +2 to his movement allowance, +2 to his strength and toughness. He will have to take a flesh wound at the end of it though, and he might go out of action, but if I can manage to take out T in the first opening rounds, it's well worth it. And I'd immediately declare a charge directly against the Skinner. As you can see, I have no problem whatsoever closing the distance against the Executioner, so because I do engage him in close combat. Unfortunately, the only close combat weapon I really have is a fighting knife, so because of that, that's what I'm going to attack with, because that's what he's equipped with. Whereas T, the Executioner, has a flail, as well as a Butcher's chain cleaver. So if I'm going to take this guy out, I got to take him out in this opening salvo. Alright, so Verdict Kendron is targeting TE the Executioner. With my fighting knife, I'm at strength 5 because of the Stim Slug stash I just took. I do have -1 AP for my attacks with 1 damage as well as backstab. I do get 3 attacks, including the charge that I have, and a weapon skill 3+, and you roll 3+ in order to hit. Of those 3 attacks, 3 do manage to hit, so I am striking at strength 5 versus TE the Executioner's toughness of 3, which means I need to roll a 3 or higher in order to wound against the Skinner. And of those 3 wound rolls, 2 managed to slip through the wounds and managed to put them directly onto T the Executioner. Now TE is wearing plate mail as well as a Skinner's mask. He's also being attacked from the Fort Arc, so that does raise his armor level to a 4+ save, but because of the -1 AP for my fighting knife, it drops to a 5+, and unfortunately for Dark Lord Mac, he fails both of his armor saves. So with a brutal roar, Victor Kendron throws his blade directly against the throat of T, the Executioner, dropping the warrior directly onto the ground. And before he gets bleeding out on the cold concrete, we wrap him up, stitch up his wounds, and we sell him to the guilders, because as slave guilders, that's what we do best. And with that, takes directly to the game for reals this time, with the Slave Guild winning the second mini battle report that we actually have with battle report number 19.5. So that being said, we're going directly to the post game, because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
Alright, so now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for battle report number 19 of our Necromunda Community Event for Season 2 of It Came From The Sump. For starters off, my gang pretty much lost the very first battle report, so let's talk about my injuries real quick. So Corella Corsair got lessons learned, so she goes directly into recovery but earns 3 additional experience points. Johnny the Boy as well as Starbucks, they both actually go out of action. No harm, no foul there, because they're from my fighting pit territory. And Grievous 2.0 actually gets a lasting damage, which is persistent rattle, which means the next time I take another one, I could potentially lose the vehicle if I go 7 or higher on my lasting damage on my vehicle. Now for advancements, a lot of members of my gang actually advanced this time around. Gothmog leveled to level 3, earning +1 to his cool willpower characteristic, and also increasing his credit value by 5 credits. Corella Corsair leveled to level 3, earning +1 to her toughness, also making her toughness 4 now, and also increasing her credit value by 30 credits. Reinhardt Rustlung, one of my Outcasts Hive Scum, leveled to level 2, earning +1 to his movement allowance, so now he's movement 6, and also increases his credit value by 10 credits. Stuka Duquesne leveled to level 1, earning +1 to his toughness, and also increasing his credit value by 30 credits. And for Blacklight, leveled up to level 3, earning +1 to his willpower, giving it 5 credit boosts in its credit value as well. Now for my territory, I do manage to secure all my territories with the Beast Quake going on. Basically, I elected 3 of my fighters to go in there. None of them rolled a 1, so no harm, no foul there. Now for my settlement, I earned 1 point of reputation as well as 40 credits from that one, as well maintain keeping my fighting pit and my Sludge Sea. However, though, settlement number 2, though, I lost it to the Everdam because I did lose the Murder Cyborg battle report. Now, as for the pit fight, yes, that is an additional battle that we do, but no territory is traded from that. It was determined whether T, the Executioner, gets saved by his peers or not. Now for my alliance, I don't have an alliance anymore with the Slavers Guild, so I'm done with that. And for my trading post, I got 40 credits for my territories, and when combined with the 15 credits from my stash and the 110 credits I got from T, the Executioner, who I sold to the Guilders, I ended up with a grand total of 155 credits in total. With those 155 credits, I spent 40 credits for Hotshot Last Packs for both Stu Duquesne as well as Errol DeVeers, and those guys are packing Hotshot Last guns. I also spent 100 credits for Plasma Grenades for Ursus the Boar, so we can start lobbing those Plasma Grenades directly at my opponents. I then took the 15 credits I had left over and put it directly into the stash. Now as for reputation, I got 1 point for my territory as well as 2 for my scenarios that I played, giving me a grand total of 17 reputation in total. My new record now is at 5 wins and 4 losses, and my new gang right now is at 2,895 points. So let's go on and talk about Dark Lord Max Gang, the Everdamned, who won this scenario. For injuries, quite a bit of his characters got injured. The Garrote actually got convalescence, so it goes directly into recovery. Cargon got out cold results, so makes a full recovery no problem. The Midnight Meat Train suffered an unreliable lasting damage directly to its engine, so that part's kind of rough. TE got captured and got sold to the Guilders for 110 credits, so he's been eliminated off the roster. As for the Drip as well as Needle Vex make full recoveries because they're narco scum from the Alliance delegation. Now for his advancements, the Fireworm actually leveled to level 1, earning +1 to his weapon skill, as well as 20 credits in value, and the Midnight Meat Train also leveled to level 2, and it chose the Expert Driver skill, so that way it can get a little bit better rolls on its handling, and also increase its credit value by 30 credits as well. Now from his territories, he did manage to secure all of his territories with the Beast Quake complication going on, so no harm, no foul there. From settlement number 1, he got 1 point of reputation as well as 10 credits, and he still maintains control of his tunnels territory. And he also grabbed settlement number 2 for me because he managed to capture that from the Rusty Nails. Gets another point of reputation as well as 50 credits as well. Now from his alliance, he did spend 10 credits maintaining alliance with the Narco Lords because of the drawback from that alliance. Now for the trading post, he got 130 credits from the scenario, as well as 60 credits from his territories, as well as 5 credits from his stash, giving a grand total of 195 credits in total. He spent 10 of those credits for his Narco Lords Alliance, as well as 155 credits in order to purchase a blade of armor, redundant drive systems, engine shells, as well as a harpoon launcher for the Midnight Meat Train. So now that vehicle is fully kitted out with all kinds of equipment. He also spent 50 credits in order to recruit a new rogue doc named Old Sancho the Needle. For his reputation, he got 3 points from the scenario as well as 2 from his territories, giving a grand total of 14 points reputation in total. His new record now is at 3 wins and 4 losses, and his new game rating now is at 2,665 points. So there you guys have it. That is battle report number 19 of our season 2 of It Came From the Sump in the books. And once again, this is also part of our Necromunda Community Event. So if you guys end up using any of the campaign mechanics that we end up creating in this community event, or if you end up using, doing the community yourself, please send us, messages, email, links to videos or photos you guys may have used. We just love to see if you guys are using this stuff and just engage with the community overall. So that's good for this video, guys. I am Commander Cheapskate. I will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.